In this video, I'm just going to break down all the layers for this dragon scale armor set. And then I'm going to kind of just give a quick example after I talk about all the layers and everything on how this would be set up. Okay, so let's take a look at the head first. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to shut off all the layers and I'm going to go one by one and then just explain what they are, how they were set up, and what they're doing. Okay. So as you can see, everything's already baked into the texture sets, right? Which is why we're getting all this detail when the layers are off. And this one here, that's just the base color. That's okay, so that's the starting point. Next part is you'll see here the face roughness is going to change because I have a map for that. It's got a little bit of an extra bump layer and some detailing on the face area. This yellow area is just essentially a mask or a saved mask where the metal will show up. And then here is the metal layer. All this layer is the metal turned on and nothing else. So this is just the metal slider cranked up, which will give me a nice base to start working on the detailing of the metal and how it reads. This next layer is a few things. This has like an edge generator to give a little bit of a red pop. This here is I believe this is the roughness adjustments to this map here, so that it's not all just super shiny from all angles. It gives it a bit of a gradient there. This is just kind of like metal variation, like that's what gives all this nice, the light hitting it a bit different here. Yeah, once again, some roughness layers. This is what I meant by a lot of the time it's going to be layering things. So there's quite a few layers in that, and it's just like an on and off switch. But like everything within here kind of just stacks on top of each other. Okay, so here we're coming along. Here is just a splash of red around the eyes. This is just the nose and the nose dark part. You'll see here that the nose dark part doesn't have any light going into it. Obviously that's because I have the roughness down on that part of the nose. The eye brown is just kind of like to darken the upper part of the eye. Eyeliner is important. This is essentially just like something that follows the corner of the eye just to make that area pop a little, because it looks, as you can see, it looks a little empty without it. Red tips are just the tips of these specific designs for the thing. You can see here that there's like a little bit of a red tip, and then that's just a dab of the brush and then a blur modifier. These dark lines here stop the light from hitting all of this evenly, so I have the roughness on this one really, really low, so that the light doesn't really hit that, but it causes a separation between the plates, which worked well. This is just a basic ambient occlusion and curvature map on top. This is just yellow highlights right on the top of the head. It's just a little something for a color blast there. Here's a detail pop. I believe this is just this is another ambient occlusion plugged in to the color. So that gives it a bit more detail. Here is the gradient to have the roughness hit the metal a little bit different. So you can see here it's attached to the color and the roughness. So if we take the roughness off, you'll see the light hits it evenly. When we put the roughness on, it hits it a little more in a gradient way. And then that just, this is just plugging in this exact map, but the ambient occlusion of it, essentially. And that's about it for that. So that's how this is all constructed. And as you can see here, this is how it's laid out when you bake the actual maps in. So if I were to go down to the body, okay, I'm going to just delete. I'm going to recreate something like this so that you can see how that would be set up. It'll just be a nice quick variation of it. So first things first, I'm going to delete all this stuff because I don't really need that right now. I'm going to then hide everything except for the body. Okay, so now here we are, and we want to make a cool staggered pattern with two different rough maps kind of on top of each other, and we're going to use masks and height maps for that. So here is the base folder and the base texture. Okay. Base, yep. Let's just call that test. Okay. Next, we're going to put another layer and folder within the folder, right? You can always have folders within folders, obviously. This one is going to be called pattern 01. Okay. And we're going to do the same. Well, I could just duplicate this actually and call this one pattern 2. Okay. So where do we want pattern 1? Where do we want pattern 2? Okay. Pattern 1, I usually like to just put a color on so I can see where the actual mask is going. Let's say here is going to be the first pattern, and we want to weave that into the other one, into his feet. Okay, and then we want to do one here. Okay, and then let's say we'll do one here. And here. Something on the shoulder. Okay. So this is where the first pattern is going to show up. And that's going to be on top of the other one. So let's change the color of this one just so that we can tell which is which. This one's going to be blue. And then the one on top is going to be red. Perfect. So I want to add a height map here. So what we do is add a fill layer. We don't need anything but height. We're going to go into this and find one that we like. Let's just grab circles. Okay, now let's go triplanar for this one. I usually start off with triplanar to see how it is, and then if it's terrible, I just play around with the other settings. So spherical might work, depending. It all depends on what how it's reading when you're putting it together. So let's put that at a smaller scale so we can see them, right? Okay. Cool. I think I might want to have the circle ones in the other one. So let's find a bit of a different pattern for this one. Yeah, let's do these weird Super Mario block cube things. Okay, and we're going to put the size of this up a bit. Okay, so this is going to be the base, like under texture. We don't want any on the hands or feet. Okay, so what we're going to do is, once again, just add a mask. A white mask this time because I want most of this to be visible. Take the delete. erase tool. Okay, now I'm going to erase this stuff from the hands, which is just getting rid of it from the layer, and the feet. Okay, cool. And yeah, that all looks fine. So like I said, you will most likely need to either edit by hand or play with these when you're doing them on your own, because you can see here that the way I have it set up right now with the triplanar here, it kind of decides on its own where it's going to make seams and break it up, and it kind of blends into each other, so you're not getting the exact look that you want. It's looking pretty good around the legs and not very good there, but everywhere around the body and on the legs, that's what you want, and it's looking good. But I think the height map is a bit too extreme, so I'm going to go in and bring that down a bit so it's not too crazy. So that's a little bit better. It looks a little less extreme, and we'll use this as our base. So excellent. Now we want to add something else into these layers, and we also want to get rid of this pattern here from the red, right? Okay. So because we have this mask already made, let's copy this mask and put that in here under a new layer. Okay. Okay, so now we have this mask, and we want to erase what's in here, or at least have something overwrite it. Ah, that's why I'm on height. Okay. So there's a few different ways you can do this. You could use the copying of the mask and then erase that from the thing, or you can just go into this mask, see where the red is, and actually just erase it. It's kind of your call. It's however you like to work, or whatever works for you. So I'm just going to go in by hand and do this for now, and then plug in another map and then show you how to do the rest by hand, because there are some edits that are needed. Okay. Okay, so now we have this area nice and smooth for the red, and then we're going to put in another pattern. Okay. Same process. Add a fill layer into the already existing mask, have it on the height only, and grab a pattern. This is where I want to grab the circles again. Okay, let's go triplanar and make those small. Okay. Yeah, this is the triplanar stuff doing its insanity. So let me just show you a potential way to fix that. It's actually looking very good on the legs except for this. This is one of those things, like I said, you may have to adjust these areas by hand. Yeah, there too. Or you could find a better way to project these. So with UV, it's usually pretty good. It's actually very good everywhere except for where you have a seam. So you can see the seam right here, so all the circles aren't matching up, but everywhere else they're the exact same size, they're clean, they're looking good. So that might be a quick way to get your base set up. So here you can see, because there's a seam here, you get some weirdness there. So it's always best to play with your settings and see which ones work best for you. Try planar. Yeah, so planar just is going to stretch that and it's going to look awful. If it's just a small patch, so say you had a big circle here and it was only on the front part, it's not wrapping around anything, and it's pretty safe, you can use planar projection for that because it's just pasting it on straight. But for the most part, you're going to want to stay away from that, and use either triplanar or UV projection. So it looks like I'm getting the best results with UV. So I'm going to click UV. And then I would go in and actually adjust this stuff by hand. Yeah, I would most likely just erase that and then somehow try to adjust this by hand in the map. It's not too bad. Some of it's giving pretty good results. Not too many edits would be needed here, right? Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go and I'm just going to take the colors off. Or just put it to white. Because we don't really need that anymore. And the same thing that we did with this guy here, taking it down a notch. It's a bit too much. So we're going to go to the height. Bring that down a bit, and you can see here that it's sort of overlapping here, so you would have to go in and play under here and just adjust the actual, once again, it's all just about the masking. You would just have to adjust the mask here. Here rather, yeah. And then kind of go in and wherever you see it kind of popping through, just kind of hand erase it so that it lines up pretty nice and even. Obviously you can go in and change whatever brush. I'm just using a soft brush for example purposes, but you can change your brush into whatever works best for you. If you want a hard edge or soft, whatever you decide. Okay, so like all the other stuff, now say you had all this edited and good to go. It would just be the same steps as all of the other stuff. It would be to bake this now into the actual normal map, grab the normal map and plug it in here, then bake the rest of the maps, and then go through, texture the whole thing, smart material, boom, and then grab that smart material, bring it onto the next asset, and then do the rest of the set in the same way. Like I said, there's going to be some hand edit pieces here, and in the next video, I'm going to show you a technique to actually go in and fix that stuff by hand, because you most likely will have a few situations where you'll have to edit that by hand, and I have a good technique to do that. So I will show that in the next video.